Houston. Houston, we have a problem. DJ Apollo has landed. I repeat, DJ Apollo has landed at Hipmix 88.9 WEIU.
Welcome to the Tales of Music and Film podcast. I am DJ Apollo, and I am very excited today because I got my BFFs back.
Aw, you love us that much?
Oh, yes, I do.
Why do I come on this show?
Because we love you.
Yeah,
and you
we
love
you.
us.
We love you, Preston.
Yeah, you're right.
See, we're all friends here.
Yeah, it's a
One big happy family.
Yes, I just feel the love.
Who's the mother in this scenario?
Not me.
Not it.
No, not it.
It's Aiden.
I'm gonna censor myself, but okay.
Oh man! All right. So today we're getting extra. What's the word? Actual. How do you say it?
Intellectual. Sweet Jesus, give this kid a dictionary.
I had
Can't
a
even say
stroke.
the name of the film.
I'm sorry.
Extra denstra? That sounds like that sounds like something a dentist would make for old people.
I know. I had a little stroke
no,
there.
it's different type of dentures. They are intentionally incomplete.
Yeah,
that's gonna be my next production project.
Yeah.
Oh, instead of a watch without an hour hand, it's just dentures that don't have all your teeth in them.
Correct.
Yeah, and today I'm very excited because we are covering a new movie that my buddy Aiden introduced me just a couple literally last month, and last night I got to rewatch it, and it was Preston's first viewing of it. So Preston and I we're newer viewers to this movie, but Aiden's already seen it a few times.
Oh God, I can't count how many times I've seen this movie.
Yeah, so the movie we're discussing today is Arrival. The famous 2016 film came out on September 1st, and it's considered to be one of the greatest films that's come out in the last decade. Like it really holds up. Like it's
I definitely believe that it's one of the greatest films of the last decade.
yeah, I'm telling you, to say it, when we were watching this last night, it was the visuals. I quote myself to Aiden. I'm like, every shot in this, every frame is literally like a painting. There are so many shots. I just wanted to pause the movie and take that frame out of the TV and frame it on a wall. It looks so beautiful.
It's cinematic and mise en scène, just masterpiece.
For those who don't know what mise en scène is, it is just what's in the shot.
Yes.
Everything in every shot is just so well thought out and beautifully recorded.
Yeah, for sure. And I just don't, dude, it's one of those movies where it steals your breath away, and there's so many things we could go into, but I'm just like, where do we start with this?
Well, first let's give a brief summary of the film.
Yeah, so, Aiden, would you want to do that?
Okay, so brief summary. The opening of the film is aliens have made contact with humanity, and we follow the character Dr. Louise, and played by Amy Adams. She gets recruited by a military colonel named Colonel Weber, and she and Jeremy Renner's character, Dr. Ian, they are brought to the site of where the aliens made contact, and their attempt is to translate the aliens' language and figure out why they're here. And that is the entire plot of this film. And then the way it ends is basically just they learn the language and discover they're here to offer them a gift, a weapon that basically, once they learn the language, they break seeing how time is linear, and then they leave. That's it. There's no action to this. This is just drama about learning an alien language.
And I have to say that's so refreshing. We were talking last night, you see movies like Independence Day where it's the aliens just always are shooting first. But it's either that or it's just the E.T. trope of the alien's lost and you help it find its family again. This is something completely unique where it's the aliens are intentionally here, but they're not here to attack. And I just loved seeing that so well drawn out.
It's a unique thing, how in a lot of especially main budget Hollywood is if there's anything to do with aliens, it's either a horror movie or a big budget action film, or like E.T. when it's just an alien accidentally ends up on Earth and just needs to get home. But this is a film about what First Contact could be like. It's just like, why did they come to this planet if their intention is just to blow us up? And the whole point of just trying to figure out what they're saying.
Yeah, like, I just loved the science behind this. Like, my favorite scenes in this is when our main characters are explaining stuff to the general and literally to us, the viewer, about what they're trying to do. It's like, I feel like I'm in a college classroom or something. Like, I love the way that they explain what they're trying to do. It's like, we're going to break this down. We're going to go through it step by step. I just find that so fascinating. Like,
probably the interesting thing is how, they explain, how complicated it is to teach a language from scratch when you don't have any reference points. Take it, even when you're a kid and you're learning the language as a child, it's fairly simple to us because, A, we're a completely blank slate. And then we're just basically, it starts out as just mimicking other people, and then that's how we learn our language. This, they have to first, figure out, what they mean for, what race we are, so they have to find words, and they have to teach names, nouns, verbs, and they have to teach it all from scratch. And they just really do a good job at explaining why it's not just walk in, have a few scenes where they talk, then we ask the big question, why are you here? The time frame of this movie is over the course of several months, and that's just them trying to learn the language.
Yeah, and I thought that was pretty cool how they went that extra route with the time. It's like, I feel like with a lot of movies, it's like the time frame is a few days, but I like how this movie establishes this took a lot of time for them to make progress. Yeah. There's literally a voiceover for Jeremy Renner's character where he talks about it took us a month just to be able to form a basic sentence with the creatures. And what were you going to say, Preston?
Yeah, so I really like that they stretch it out like that, make it seem more realistic to a certain degree in that sense, but yet you aren't bored.
Oh no, dude, I was on the edge of my seat. I was genuinely hooked on this the whole time. The science and whatever else you want to say, I never got bored of it ever.
Then there is I'd like you guys to talk about this, but the intrigue of the flashes to Louise's character and her daughter, the whole film frames it that's the past, and this somehow this is affecting her. Then the twist is that was actually the future. So what's your guys' opinion on that?
Yeah, I'll never forget when I watched this for the first time. The whole time I thought that was I thought the movie was pulling kind of I would think you would call it a cliche at this point of the tragic character where something awful or sad happened to them in the past that's affecting them now. We've seen that in a lot of movies, and I thought that was going to be the same thing here. But dude, that twist though at the end, where you find out you were seeing the future that whole time, I was just like, whoa, it's what a twist.
Yeah, that caught me off guard too. I did not think that was the route it was going to go, because aliens have had such a clean cut, this is what we do with aliens in Hollywood. It didn't go that route at all.
With most aliens and whatnot, they're not really fleshed out that often. What we talked about after the film is compare it just to this is kind of comparing apples and oranges, but the point is how much we've learned over the course of time is the Alien series, how they have had, how many movies is it? Let's see, 4 with Ripley, Prometheus, then Covenant. So the Alien series has had 6 movies, and the only ones where we got a bit of backstory was in Prometheus,
and we got barely anything.
Yeah, and that was barely anything. But it's mainly just we get little hints in Aliens about how they work as a colony, but still not very much. But then again, that's still not the point of the film. And if they left it at that would have been okay, because I'm just this isn't they're trying to study them. They're trying to survive the attack of these highly evolved hunters. But then we had Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, Prometheus, Alien Covenants. we had all these, and we have still gotten barely any information about these aliens. Then in this one, we learn so much over the course of this one film. Like when we see their full, like at first, like when you're just seeing them through like the panel or whatnot, it looks like they're just like a small vertical body. And then weird like 7 legs. But then when Luis gets in their room and whatnot, when they bring her back onto the ship, you see the full scope of these things, and we learn and we get the full explanation. Why are you here?
Yeah, and I love the idea. It's like they started with the basic questions: why are they here? What do they want? You know,
Yep,
like just starting with the basics.
Like the whole plot of this film is working to when they can ask the one question everyone wants to know: why are you here?
And so,
Sorry, real quick.
go ahead. Yeah.
The closest movie that I can think of to this one is Avatar, and just because that is fairly unique in the way it views aliens, as humans basically are the aliens in that, and they're trying to figure out what they can give the aliens in order to let them take over their land. But then they find out that the aliens just want their land, and they don't like that and attack.
Yeah, like I remember like one of my favorite things like about the Avatar movie is people like to say Jake Sully is a terrible person because he betrays his race to be with Nateri. But they're literally missing out on the entire plot of the film as to why he went. Like, it's especially something like, so with that film, I only watched the collector's edition that I own, and the best thing about that edition is it gives additional they extend the opening to where it has several scenes on Earth, so we see how bad it is there. Like it is just a full metropolitan city. There's no real life or anything, and just it's overcrowded, and it's very constricting. Then we follow Jake Sully, who gets to live on this planet, who gets to be on this planet. Like, he gets his legs back. That's a big plus.
Yeah.
Then he gets to truly be free in a way he never was on Earth.
And it wasn't just him either. His entire, platoon, I guess you call it, all of them felt that way when they experienced that.
The whole crew, Grace, she was interested in just the science. She was into respecting because this science is so advanced and whatnot. And then it goes into the thing of just between science and religion is and they kind of hint at both can coexist. As they reveal that when Grace gets transported into the tree, she says that Ava's real.
Yeah.
So a scientist admits it. Then it's just, but there's so much more. So let's get back to Arrival.
Yeah.
But that is definitely one we got to talk about. I don't know if you've seen it.
I have not seen it yet.
Oh.
And we'll watch it, and we're watching the collector's edition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be
love
down
to
to
see that.
Yeah, I'd be down to check it out. But dude, when we were talking about the visuals earlier, I still remember last night. Dude, Preston, your reaction to when we saw that shot of the alien ship for the first time, and the cloud was doing the wave thing.
Yeah, it was a wall cloud essentially.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, you were gushing.
Yeah.
It was so incredibly amazing. What year did this come out?
2016.
This came out in 2016. And the fact that anything these days I can be looking at it and ask, how did they do that? And genuinely have no idea, even being a film production student. That means that this movie is just a masterpiece.
Yeah, keep in mind, all three of us are we all have similar degree fields in TV production. So
we're all television video productions majors. Am I right?
Yeah,
you're
and
right.
we've taken millions of classes, and thanks to those classes, we notice a lot of things with these movies that say some regular people would have noticed. Because they don't study film like we do, and the whole time we're watching this, it was just dude, every shot in this, I was just in total awe. I could type up like a 6-page report on this thing. There was just so much going on for it.
Like, also, can we talk about, like, the audio design of just, like, the ambient noises in the background? Like, it's usually just either, like, something, like, techno-y and scientific, or just some orchestra and whatnot, and it's a hybrid of the two, and just, it really just, it feels unique and just really gets you in this moment of just, like, it's beautifully shot, but this is still very much in science fiction. And then with what Preston said on, like, visual effects and how, like, it looked amazing, it makes me think of just, like, how, like, I've grown to despise the MCU, and one of the reasons is because the visual effects have gotten worse, and it is simply for the one fact that they are rushing. They are trying to get too much out too quickly. Mm-hmm. So then you have a film like this, which took its time. It looks amazing, and it looks ever bit as great as it does. Like, there's always the thing of just, like, watching a visual effects and, like, in the moment it looks good, then you come back a year or two later and they're just like, oh god, those effects didn't age well. Like, the problem with MCU is you watch them in the moment, just like, that looks atrocious.
Oh yeah.
Then this, it's
like,
been 6 years since this film came out, and it still looks amazing.
Yeah,
it came out like the same year as Infinity War, I believe, right?
No.
Civil War. Civil War.
Oh,
Civil War.
War.
2018.
Yeah, you're right. Civil War. We thought that looked great at the time, but now I look back, I'm like, no, that hasn't aged as well. But this is from the same year, and I'm still bewildered by it.
Honestly, I would make the argument that this movie's visuals beats the entire MCU franchise. I think it beats
easy.
all of them.
Well,
easy.
Here's the thing, like, some of the older ones are still good because, like, while they haven't aged as well, but their style still works for that film. Like I said, but like, compare, like, everyone's talking about, like, She-Hulk nowadays. I watched a couple episodes, and oh sweet lord, those effects were terrible.
Yeah, they rushed that big time.
They dropped the ball hard.
Oh yeah, you could definitely see that again. It's just like, even with Charlie Cox's Daredevil, he's in it for one episode, and I'm just like, no.
Like,
even with that, I'm not
like,
giving.
I remember,
it a
like, I
chance.
showed you guys the clip of She-Hulk and Daredevil fighting, and I just showed you it, and we were all just like, what was that?
Yeah, it's just like, it physically makes my head hurt.
Just like how bad, and it's literally just the problem that Marvel is rushing. They're trying to get so much out, and it is because it is a victim of its own success, because, like, when they started doing established universe, all the works need to be connected and whatnot, but then you have to do like 1,000 different projects all leading up to this one big moment. When, just remember, the Thanos arc started in 2012, and it didn't get wrapped up until 2019.
Yep.
They are trying to set up the entire Secret Wars storyline, which is one of the biggest storylines in comic books.
Easily.
And they're trying to set it up in one phase.
And it's not going to work.
No.
Like, they've already jumped ship on things, and I'm like, you're not taking enough time to flesh out the story. This isn't connecting.
Yeah, so then it goes back to just projects like this, which took its time. They thought out the plot completely. Like, think like back to the reveal of the fact that the jumps back to her daughter are actually jumps forward. Like, it, like, me watching it on repeat views, you can see how it's, like, at the start it's not terribly obvious. Like, it makes it very much seem like it was the past. But then and it's really good with pacing it. As she's learning more of the language, the frequency of these things are happening, and we learn that it's their language that unlocks this ability to see the future. So as she is learning so much more of the language, it's happening more frequently, and then, like, you can see it's influencing the moment right now as she's recalling instances that in the future that help her in the present, and things that are happening right on screen influence what happens in the future.
Yeah, it's just like, I just loved all those scenes, and I think the next thing we could definitely talk about is, like, we have to give the cast a mention.
Oh god, the casting in this movie.
Yeah, the casting in this is just like, dude, it's one of those things where it's just like the chemistry between everybody in this was so amazing. And Aiden, would you like to name off some of the cast members?
So yeah, like I said when I gave the intro, we had Amy Adams. She is our main character, Dr. Louise. Then we had Jeremy Renner, who played Ian. Then there was Forrest Whitaker, who plays the Colonel, who's in charge of the base. Then the only other one of the named cast members that are really important is Michael Stolberg. I might not be saying that right. If you're listening, I apologize. But those are mainly like the 4 named characters that we follow. Then there is, of course, like the 3 different actors they had to play Luisa's daughter because it was taking place both like as a young child, a young teen, like a 6-year-old, then like a 10 to 12-year-old, then a late teens version. So we had 3 different girls playing the same character, and they actually made it look fairly seamless.
Oh yeah, it really did.
Between all 3 of them.
Oh yeah, for sure. And this is the only movie that I've seen Jeremy Renner in it's one of the only ones that I've seen where he wasn't Hawkeye. Like the only other one that I've seen him in was the Mission Impossibles. So to see him in a genuine good like drama movie,
I'm pulling up the rest of his film catalog.
Was amazing. Preston, what did you think of his performance in this? Like, what did you think?
Jeremy Renner's?
Yeah.
I feel like he was the perfect actor for the role. He was comedic in certain instances without going over the top. He was serious when he needed to be. He really seemed like a very intelligent scientist.
Yeah, and I loved the chemistry between him and Amy Adams' character. Like, the scenes of them working together and slowly building a love for one another, like, I genuinely really loved seeing that. They were such a good team solving the problems together. Like, every scene they shared together are some of my favorite scenes in this whole thing. Like,
absolutely, yeah.
And I'm trying to think. What did you think? What did you guys think of the aliens' creatures' designs?
Oh, I loved it. Like, it was so unique. Like, one of the things that happens a bit too often when aliens is just how kind of similar they look to humans, or like they look at least someone like Homo sapien with like they stand on 2 legs and have 2 arms. The main things that change is just like color of skin, how the joints developed, and number of fingers, and then shape of the head. That's all that really changes. Like, but then you have something like this when they're just like, we're going completely different. These things don't look anything like a humanoid. Like, they're heptapods. Like, they just have 7 legs, and like I said, they look just like a long octopus or squid and whatnot, but just not as fleshy and whatnot.
They don't even have eyes.
Yeah,
from what we can see, like, they don't have eyes. So, but it opens up questions. But it's just like, these are things we never got to, but because the whole premise was just trying to learn how to communicate.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you though, man, the reveal of the creatures was so amazing. So I'll set the setting for you. They're inside a room on the vessel where there's like this see-through glass barrier that separates the room from another one. It's full of like this white mist or something. So Amy Adams and Jimmy Renner's characters go out there with a few other military personnel. They're all wearing hazmat suits because they have no idea if the air is clean in that ship.
No, remember, like just I get very particular about stuff like this. They do determine that there is air in this place, but there's a mild amount of radiation. They don't know how much it'll affect, and it's not really fun to just like say, hey, I'm going to expose myself to radiation. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah.
Then there's also the fact that the problem with the air is that it's not circulating as much. It doesn't circulate in there, so they'll eventually run out of air.
Oh.
That's why there's gaps between the sessions, why they're not there for hours on end. Because once Ian and Luis take off their hazmat suits, as it really has a breakthrough in being able to establish communications, they can't be in there very, very long because they have to exit and use machine to circulate the air, and then they wait, then they go back in.
Yeah. so they're staying there waiting, right? And you're like, you're anticipating the reveal. And then when they show up, it's just like there's no music or anything. It just you hear like, what would you call it, moans?
Yeah,
from them, like
like it literally says in the subtitles, grunting, huffing, moaning, and whatnot, because just because it's the way they speak. Like, it is so different compared to us, and it's why like they had to establish they can understand us, they can understand our English, but what they can't but we can't like translate their voice and whatnot because of how they talk. And they even established that there's no correlation between the sounds they make and the words, the symbols.
Yeah, exactly. So Preston, what was your take on the reveal of the creatures? What did you think of it?
I was actually just about to chime in with that. I love how much they took their time with them getting into the spaceship, addressing how they got there, getting to the one room where they can see the aliens from, and the aliens just taking their time coming out of the fog, because they knew the audience would be like on the edge of their seats, like, what are they going to look like? And they really amped that up.
And they didn't milk the time on any of the reveals. Like, take the reveal of the alien ships. We don't get a good look at them, like a clear open look of the ship, until around the 19-minute mark. But because like the character Louise isn't getting a clear view of it. Mm-hmm. Like, we're getting glimpses and side glances of it from the news that she's watching. But other than that, we don't see them. And then we get that scene that it pays off, like they show with that amazing shot, the size of the ship.
In the way the sun glistens
the sun on it, the clouds. You had that beautiful shot. Then with this, it has such buildup as to how different this race is, like with the gravity shift, like how they rise up in a lift, then they jump and then it switches the gravity on them. Mm-hmm. Then the walk in is like you're just seeing this big white light in the distance. Then the room opens up and you just see the white glass, the mist, and then you're just getting closer. The camera's closing. You're hearing the grunts. Then they exit the mist and they're there for all to see in all their glory. And then they cut it.
And so they milk it, but they don't over milk it.
Well, no, like we saw them just long enough.
Like, it's the perfect way of building it up.
Yes.
Of just like just feeding that anticipation, then it actually has a realistic payoff. Like, it's not one of those that just you get a brief second flash, then it cuts, because it still showed it long enough that you could take in a good amount of the details.
Because it took a lot, because that is like nothing I've ever seen before in my life, what these things look like. Yeah, no, it took a lot. Like, I mean, even like, in fact, after it cut away,
like how they look is like. Have you played the Mass Effect games?
Yes.
Like, they look like the Hanar a bit.
They do. But like, I couldn't process it to the point that, like, after the scene cut from, like, seeing them, I'm like, were they, like, behind the mist or, like, what? And they're like, no.
That was a good thing. And it was an ideal place to cut. Just, like, Louise was just, like, so ecstatic and so blown away, like, she couldn't get any work done, so they pulled out.
Yeah. But, like, I was like, did we see the whole thing? And they were like, yeah, that was the whole alien. I'm like, wow. Like, I thought they were still shrouded behind the mist somehow, because they didn't look the same.
We were kind of wrong, just because, like, there's a bit more above them that we can't see in the mist.
Yeah.
But still, like, we saw the main part of them, and what we're going to see through most of the movie until the very end, when Luis gets in direct contact with them, like, beyond the glass.
Mm-hmm. And also, I'd love to give a quick mention. Like, so let's back up before that first encounter. Dude, the way they entered the ship, or like they're on that
the construction lift.
Yeah, they're going up, right? Then it just stops. So you're like, wait a minute, why are they stopping? And the guy gets that
glow stick.
A glow stick, and throws it up. And then it just falls down on the wall next to it. And then you're just like, wait, what's happening? They go up a slight bit farther, then they start floating, then they just start walking up that sidewall. Dude, and then, like, you're looking down, it's like you're Spider-Man, it's like your feet is sticking.
Yeah,
like dude, the visuals of that whole
So basically, like, if you're looking at it from the ground, they are walking at a perfect 90 degrees up a wall.
Yeah.
So that's what it looks like, and just like the way it looks and the way it feels, it just feels trippy.
Yeah, I know. Like, I'll never forget. Like last night when we were watching this, like Aiden, you and Preston were freaking out over that visual.
Well, because
like,
it looked amazing.
Yeah, because
Yes.
like you're, I quote yours like, dude, this is trippy.
Like,
You
I
know,
really
like-
wish I could say the thing that we said on here to describe it, but we wouldn't be able to put this podcast on if we described how amazing this was.
Yeah, it's just like to say that we were hyped up throughout this whole thing is a complete understatement.
It was so amazing.
Yeah. Now I'm curious. Now, guys, I gotta ask you a question regarding the twist. Do you have any theories at all about the ending at all?
Okay, so mine, I know I talked about you with this, but so the big question that that lives just like, what does this mean that like she sees past time? Can she see the future? Can she influence it? Is it set in stone and whatnot? Or is this like a thing where like, because they say it's non-linear and there's no ends and beginnings, does it mean like it's all happening all at once? Like, it raises enough questions to have a conversation like this, but it still gives some details. Me personally, what I think it is with the time travel is that there's still like the set point in time of when your life begins and when it ends, but you can see it all happening. Like, it's basically like you're an impartial viewer, like just kind of like think you're looking at a TV screen of your life. You can recall and just fast forward to certain memories at any time. Like, it's basically like you can see memories in the future and you can see memories in time back. But I think it can still be influenced as to what happens. Because, like, take at the end when Luis is trying to get a hold of the Chinese government to tell them something to get them to stop their attack on the aliens. Like, she doesn't know what to say, and it's not until she goes to her future memories and is told what she said. So, but what if she couldn't recall that memory in time? What if she got found out? Mm-hmm. What if Jeremy Renner didn't delay and give her the time she needed? What would have happened? So, like,
I don't really have a theory so much as like a really big question that I don't necessarily feel needs an answer, but like, I'm satisfied with it, but it's still there. The aliens say that in 3,000 years, they're going to need humanity's help. So they're giving them this language so they will be able to help them. I want to know what they're going to need their help with.
Like, that,
Sure.
that could be a potential sequel, but then they'd have to change it because another thing about this movie was, like, embracing every moment, because, like, the whole point of Luis's future daughter is she has a very rare disease. Like, they don't say what it is, but it's implied that it's something that cannot be cured, and it will eventually kill her. But Luis doesn't see it anymore as a bad thing, as she just, instead of like grieving over the fact that she's going to lose her, she embraces and lives every moment she has with her. And then with memories, the way it works, and she can look back in time or into the future, she can recall every moment with her with perfect clarity as if she's living it again.
Yeah, because I'll never forget. It's like when I watched this for the very first time, Aiden had to really help me understand the endings. I was kind of like, I was a little confused because I brought the question up, like, and he kind of gave this a brief mention anyway. So it's like, so she can see what the future it has in store. Can she change it?
Like I said, they don't answer that question. Like, but I don't think they can change anything about what's going to happen to her daughter, and it's simply because she can't. Like, it's an unknown disease. It's incredibly rare, and I'm just like, you can give all the advanced time, like, once they find out, because how can you explain to people? Just like, I can see the future, I know this is going to happen, but it's like, well, if it's going to happen, but we can't see the warning signs of this, we can't see it, so we don't know what this is, and we can't figure out how to treat it.
Right, exactly. And I actually have a question for you, Aiden. Preston helped me remind me about this. So, In one of the flashback scenes, Amy Adams' character is talking with her daughter. She's a little older, and she's like, "Why does Dad look at me different now? Why did he leave you?" And then she tells her, like, "I told him something he wasn't ready to hear." So I imagine she's talking about the fact that she probably revealed to him that she can see the future.
No, it's not that she can see the future, because
I think it's that she told him about her daughter.
No, I think at that point in time, it's like it's established that the whole way, like, because like she's had a published book at this, she teaches classes about the heptapod language, so like people know that she can see the future, like, or see time in a different way to them. Mm-hmm. What she revealed was the fact that their daughter is going to die.
Oh.
Then that there is nothing they can do about it. But because he wasn't at the point that he can see time the way she does, he basically just doesn't accept it. Like, why'd you tell me this? Mm-hmm. Like, now I look at her just like it's a ticking bomb. Like, this could, like, her days are numbered.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Because like when I was watching this, I thought that he was mad at her because, like, wait, you're telling me this whole time you knew what the future was in store for. Why didn't you tell me or something? You know,
Yeah,
like that's what I got when I watched it.
Like you just go the fact that when she's talking to her daughter, she's like, I told him something he wasn't ready to hear, and then she starts mentioning it's a very rare disease that's unstoppable. She was they was basically just going in a roundabout saying, because like you're not going to tell your daughter that she's going to die one day.
Oh no, absolutely not. I get that.
So like, but what she told Jeremy Renner was that their daughter was going to die.
Okay. Because, and I think one of my favorite scenes in this is at the end where she asks Jeremy Renner's character, if you could see your whole life in front of you and you knew it was going to happen, would you change anything? And he didn't really answer the question, though.
Well, he basically just said, like, I don't know. Like, he said, all he said was just like, I'd say what I feel more often.
Oh, so that's what she did.
Yep.
You could say,
yeah, but
in a way.
So, Preston, what do you think on like what she said in Jeremy Renner and whatnot?
I honestly feel like, because she could see that outcome, maybe she wouldn't reveal what she knows about their daughter necessarily.
Like, I think it's more like you think about that moment, because I believe it was right after when that happened was when she revealed to her daughter, was when she talked to her daughter about, like, say what she felt more often. Mm-hmm. Because like it's a big thing of just like it's back to raising the question of just like how much of this can she influence and how much of it is set in stone.
Right, and that's not really clarified.
Well, yeah, because just like we don't know about it, because Louise is the first human to have this power, and then right after she got it was when the heptapods left.
Right.
And so they didn't stay behind to fully explain it, and that's probably for the better.
And I would imagine that they can influence it to a certain extent if they gave it to them to, like, help them in the future.
Yeah, like, yeah, because just like, but that's the thing, is just like it raises enough questions to keep like talks like this going, but it doesn't explain too much.
Satisfied with the ending. I honestly hope they don't make a sequel for this ever.
Well, you see, that's the thing, though. It's like we were talking earlier about the MCU, and I'm just like, I feel like the MCU has forgotten what it means to make a good movie. They're always focused on the next movie. Yeah. So it's like they don't think about making the one they're currently working on good. So many companies today are so focused on making a trilogy or a franchise.
Making a franchise when it's just like, what first happens is you make a good base. That, like, you can leave a bit of it open for a future sequel, but you make sure the film is wrapped up. Like, I think a good example is the Matrix series. Like, the first film is satisfying in every way.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on that. I'm not a huge Matrix fan, personally.
Then you're wrong, but okay. But still, anyway. But it's a solid plot. It follows everything, and just about all questions we have are answered. It's just like, but the war for the Matrix hasn't been concluded, but they leave it open that the rest of the plot can follow that. And then that's when the sequels followed. And while the sequels were worse than the original, it still left it open.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you can watch the first movie and pretend. I mean, I'm sure some fans are probably doing this, where it's like that whole film could stand on its own.
Oh yeah, like I have seen each sequel for the Matrix one time, but I have seen the first one several dozen times.
Yeah. For me, it's too long. The plot confuses me, and the characters, other than Neo, are just too dry.
Like, I get it, but, like, at least with the weird, like, the pacing and whatnot, that's just the Wachowski style.
I know.
Like, they like being very trippy and kind of, like, pushing things. Like,
Yeah.
you recall the Speed Racer movie they did?
Yes, although I did like the Speed Racer movie.
Well, because here's the thing.
But that wasn't as confusing.
Well, yeah, because the thing with, like, Speed Racer was, the thing that made it unique was its pacing, its art direction, and its style. But Matrix did all of that, plus made a very weird plot.
Yeah.
Now, gentlemen, I got a good question to ask you. So, like, we're all TV production majors, so I'm curious to ask you this question. What did you think? Was there any, like, a particular sequence or camera movement that you thought was very amazing?
Like,
Well, obviously the opening shot of the ship.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna have to go with the sequence when they're entering the room for the first time, just because of, like, and then also the scene when Jeremy Renner and Luis go in the room for the final time, trying to clarify, like, the weapon that they came to offer. And just like how they're bringing her in, just like they're trying to reveal more and to show it, like set up the black ink or whatnot on it and have Louise shape it herself.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like but all those sequences were just so expertly shot. They led into each other and they just flowed perfectly.
Yeah, because, like, one of my favorite scenes in this movie, like, a shot that really stood out to me was, like, what you were talking about when they were in the ship for the last time, trying to communicate them, trying to figure out, what do you mean by weapon?
Offer weapon, yeah.
And, like, so a little context for you. Some of the soldiers guarding the base went rogue, and they put a C4 bomb inside the room, and our main characters don't know about that. It's like, when you see them walking into the room, they don't see the timer, but the audience does. So the whole time, you're watching that clock getting closer and closer to zero, and it makes the scene so stressful. It's something like there's this really cool interview that Alfred Hitchcock did back in, like, the 50s, talking about how to make suspense, and that whole scene is a prime example of what he talked about. The viewer knows this, but the characters don't.
And they also set up how the viewers don't know, because, like, the C4 charge, it blends in a lot with their equipment, and the timer is facing away from them. They can't see it.
Yeah, and you were saying good.
Yeah, so then we also have the flashes of what's going on down on the ground as the soldiers are getting ready to have a shootout with security because they believe these aliens need to die.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's also a good lead into the fact that the politics in this movie, holy Lord, have mercy on us.
Yeah, like the politics in this movie, it's just like, it's sad to say though, but it's like, I feel like in real life, this is how humans would react if this actually went down.
Like, so.
Oh, I wish. I honestly think that they'd be even more aggressive.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy you say that because. You're right. I feel like in real life, it would have been 10 times worse than what the movie portrayed.
Like, even if she did have that power and was able to communicate what she did to the Chinese guy, I think he'd still go through with it. He'd just be like, in real life, he'd be like, how the hell did she know that? Continue. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because, like, there are so many people, it's like they have to use brute force. Like, the power is all they care about, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it just, if you look back at history, the most evil men were the ones who had so much power, you know?
Well, and on top of that, just because they would stand down doesn't mean the whole rest of the world would. Like, Russia would probably not.
I think they still would have blew their pod up.
Oh, yeah.
They would have.
Yeah, but let's not even just go with that, but let's go also just like, so we also are interjected with a bunch of how news and people spin the alien stories and whatnot. And
Yeah.
it's what leads to the soldiers attempting to kill the heptapods.
And like what's funny is what led them to do this, they were listening to a podcast from a guy who wasn't even at the location where one of the pods were.
He wasn't in there, and he was getting just the broken they were just getting the broken pieces that the news was managing to get leaked to them. No one would, except the people, except the viewers and the people on the site were getting the full picture, but these were just people who were closed-minded, because remember, the whole thing this is that the heptapods are not aggressive in any way. They take when the soldiers plant the bomb and detonate it, and they actually kill one of the heptapods. They could have retaliated, because that's a thing also people should understand. If aliens come to visit, there is no way where we strike and we win. These, they are more advanced than us, so I guarantee they've got stuff that is better than what we've got.
I don't care what Independence Day says.
Yeah, no.
No.
Just you can kamikaze your jet fighter into the space station all you want. It ain't gonna work.
Giving the system a cold isn't even going to be possible.
Yeah,
because you'd have to figure out their language.
Yeah, exactly.
It would take too long.
How do you know where it is? What is the layout?
Yeah.
And whatnot. Take
You
this.
know nothing.
We literally everything with the aliens. We know a good amount about them, but we barely scratched the surface of what we know. And like I said, any species that is able to travel between planets and stars effortlessly has something we don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
something that is much more advanced than what we've got. So I'm sorry, people who worship Independence Day are like, oh, when them aliens come here, I'm going to shoot them in the face.
No, you're not. They're going to destroy everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I would even argue. I mean, I said this during the movie last night. I'm like, I would just want to put a giant sign up in orbit that just says, "Don't visit us."
Yeah. No, we're not worth it.
We're not worth it.
We're mean.
We
don't.
If we had that technology, we would be the Independence Day aliens. We would literally be like Avatar. We'd be awful.
Here's the thing: how it's just we know you can't. How humanity we can know that we can't, considering there is constant war and whatnot over territory. Around the world, it's just
we treat ourselves like that. We're definitely going to treat a bunch of species we don't understand like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like what what the Terminator said in T2. It's it's in our nature to destroy ourselves.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah.
But they just established that. But then back to the news, when they reveal the image of the heptapod, we see the world freaks out. Yeah, so the world just completely freaks out once the heptapods are shown, and then you have when they get leaked of just the aliens revealed offer weapon, the world flips out, and it's just nuts. And even though they are establishing just we don't know the context.
Yeah, because even Amy Adams' character goes listen, there's a million ways that very word can be interpreted. And you guys are just going for the worst case scenario here. It's you're jumping the gun. It's that's the one thing that drove me crazy about the military personnel in this. It's they're waiting for the very first excuse that they can find to
at least
shoot.
I feel it's everyone outside of the colonel. The CIA operatives always assuming the worst. All the other countries, everyone is assuming the worst, except the people who are trying to actually listen to what the linguists and the other scientists are saying. They're all just instantly assuming the worst. They're not taking the time to just it's kind of just be it's one of my favorite things. A wise man knows what he doesn't know, and basically an unwise man claims he knows everything. So that's why these scientists are always just we don't know this. You are just making an assumption, and you're saying it's the truth based on one phrase, and we didn't even finish.
Yeah, and also I have to give a round of applause to the main general in this, the main captain in this movie. What was his name again? I don't remember.
Weber.
Yeah, I just like how understanding he was. It's like you even brought this up during the viewing. He's like, listen to me, you're going to have to explain this. Why is this so important? Amy Adams' character explains. Okay, like he just genuinely wanted to know, like, how can I make this work to my superiors?
He acknowledges that, like, I have to explain this to a room full of men who are basically trigger fingers.
Mm-hmm.
And she gave an incredibly detailed point. Like, then there was the story she made up about kangaroos.
Yeah,
like, so,
dude, that whole thing was so
for people
funny.
who don't know what we're talking about, so the general wants her to rush, go a bit faster, just like how you have to ask the big question as soon as humanly possible, and you don't have to teach them the full language, but she reveals you have to, and she goes like to when people first made landfall for ships in Australia, that someone saw an animal putting a younger one in a pouch, and he asked what was that. The indigenous people said kangaroo. And she makes up a whole story that's just like kangaroo means I don't know, but now it's become the name for these creatures, and then it's just like, okay, now it makes sense. But she's like, then Jeremy Renner's like, good story. She's like, yeah, I made it up, but it proves my point.
Yeah, I just thought it was so funny. Like, Preston, I hate to put you on the spot, but for a split second, you thought she was telling the truth.
He literally,
I straight up believed that.
Yeah, you're like, wait.
It seems plausible.
Well, yeah,
it seems
just
something stupid people would do to indigenous people.
Right.
Yeah,
but
he was just like, wow, so that's where the name kangaroo comes from. The end happens just like, I made it up, but it proves my point. And there was a little bit of disappointment in
that was so funny.
Because I wish that kangaroo meant I don't understand in the Aborigine language now. I was like, oh, that wasn't true.
Yeah, oh man, that was so funny. But now look, this movie hit home for me on one particular thing. So for all you who don't know, I have high functioning autism, and over the years of me being in school, and Preston, like, you have Asperger's, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and with me, all my years in school, I've come to learn that I'm a very big visual learner. Like, I like seeing things visually, like as it happens. I love the visual things they do in this, or like Amy Adams' character comes out with a brilliant idea, like, how can we speak to them? She's in a room just thinking, camera pans over, and you see the shot of that whiteboard just sitting there. So the next time they go in there, she walks in with the board and she just draws the word human and just holds it up. I just thought that was so cool, that like, let's visually talk to them. Mm-hmm. Like, I loved that every scene with that. That was just the coolest thing to me.
That's
that
a
whole
really
concept.
good point.
Yeah. And I think I gotta be honest with you guys, my favorite scene in this whole thing was when she broke down the question in front of the captain. Why are we here? She erases the middle.
What's your purpose?
What's your purpose? Yes, and like, she draws that word out and she like circles. Okay, before we can ask this question, first we have to, like, how did she explain it exactly?
Like,
it was kind of like,
just like, you have to understand, like, do they have this or do they speak individually? Like, it's basically just, she basically just breaks down each individual detail of a sentence, things that we no one has thought about or even learned about since we were in like kindergarten and first grade. Is when we used to talk like that, and it's just because, like, by the time you hit that age, you know the English language pretty well.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like, like, when people ask you a question, like, what they're asking. But then this, like, just like, they don't speak English. They don't have, like, from what we can tell, they don't have characters in their language. So we have to make sure that they understand our language so they can properly answer the question.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, Preston, what was your whole take on like the visual, like, learning and whatnot? Like, were you a visual learner, like, over years in school?
I'm more of a kinesthetic learner, which means I'm very hands-on.
Oh yeah, same for me. Like, I'm a big hands-on learner too.
So, but I mean, you could apply it to that too. Like she said at the very beginning, I can't learn this language unless I am there.
Yeah, because like, when the captain the first scene we see of him, he drops by Amy Adams's character's office in the college where she works at, and he puts the phone down on the desk and plays back a recording. He's like, "Do you know what they're saying?" She's like, "Well, there's a million things I gotta do here. It's like I can't figure this out unless I'm in that room while it's being recorded."
And they kind of just, like, I honestly just found it funny. I was just like, you didn't need that when you were translating Farsi message. And it's like, because I already knew Farsi.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm starting from scratch here. This is brand new.
Like a language no one knows, no one can teach me. I have to learn. I have to figure it out.
And dude, another huge scene that I loved so much was when we finally figured out how they communicate. When we see that first
Inkblot, yeah.
Yeah, that first what's it called again?
Inkblot.
Yeah. It's like a circle with like markings around it, and I love the scenes of them where like they have to break down.
Yeah,
what each
like
one
they even
means.
have scenes like when they're in their tents, just like measuring out, just like how it kind of can determine a different word, and how they have to realize that whole circle is a full phrase. It is a full sentence.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. So you're telling me that I thought each circle was one word.
No,
Like that's a whole sentence.
Jeremy Renner actually, during his recorded log it plays, he explains that.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's what he
remember,
was saying.
Remember,
Oh.
like how you would have one circle that was like just like a very thin circle, but then have one bit of it that was different shaped. That would be the word, or like a name. But then when it's fully rotated and there are multiple different sizing and ink blocks and whatnot, that's it. It's just like those full circles is an entire sentence. That is a full phrase.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. And also, there was another scene in this that I was a little confused on. Do you remember the scene where he explains something to Amy Adams' character on the computer screen? Like he shows her all this like data.
Oh yeah, like basically,
What was that? What was he talking about?
he was basically just like, that was kind of realizing a bit about the sequence with time and whatnot. Like I'd have to go back because that scene is just like, it's very weirdly spoken that you kind of have to really watch it a couple times and really listen.
Yeah.
Compared to everything else, but it's basically just how like they were doing so much sequence, like so much of it was repetition, so much of it was time, like talking about the negative space. Like that one's one that's a bit harder to explain, that honestly I'm not as well versed on.
Yeah.
So we'd have to watch just that scene a couple times.
Yeah. But I would recommend though that you really check out this movie. Like it's unlike anything else that it's unlike anything else that I've seen, and I think it was one of the coolest films I've watched here on campus. Like what? So like after seeing it, Preston, what is your overall take on this? Like, would you watch it again?
Absolutely. 10 out of 10, straight masterpiece.
Oh yeah, I also give this film a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, same for me too. It's just it's so rare for me to be so blown away like that. Like there's not that many other films that I can think of with just such amazing visuals and storytelling.
And I don't give 10 out of 10s lightly. Like,
No, I don't either. Like, dude, the closest I've done with most films like a 9.5 or a 9.
yeah.
Like never a 10.
I think this is the first time I've been on here and given it a 10 out of 10.
Like on here, yes, like I do give out 10s when I feel that they are worthy, but like it is when I would say a 10 out of 10 for me is when I'm looking at this and there is nothing that I see that I would do differently.
Yes.
No, like you see, like, I don't even think I need to ask the question of like, would you guys say you were the director? Would you have changed anything?
No.
I was gonna say, like, dude, there's nothing negative about this. Like, I was gonna ask you guys, like, do you think there was anything like not as good? Like,
No. If I thought there was, it would not have a 10 out of 10.
No, same here. Like there is absolutely nothing that needs changed, altered. I would not change a single thing about this movie.
And it's so sad. That's becoming extremely more rare nowadays. You know what I mean? It's just like being able to give like a full score.
No,
I don't think it's sad because it makes the 10s out of 10s more special.
yeah, because it's just.
Oh,
like,
sure. It's like out of all the bad ones, there's that one or two really
well,
good.
like it's not just like, here's the thing, it's hard to make a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes when you can just claim masterpiece, but then it won't age. Like take it out like Shakespeare. Like I despise everything Shakespeare has ever written. I read it and I'm just like, why do we still learn this stuff?
Yeah, because
Like,
I
I
totally agree.
It's just like I do not enjoy it. Like, do I understand, like, we should still learn about it to see where it started? Yes. But still saying, like, it's some of the greatest things ever written in the history of man? I'm going to firmly say no.
Yeah, because I feel like throughout human history, we have a bad habit of like overhyping things that don't necessarily deserve it.
Like,
But then we underhype things that really deserve
that
the
really
credit.
deserve it,
Like,
yeah.
Kind of like it's also just like we don't eat like rarely like when we have classes outside of our film class. Like when I took my English classes here, the earliest like time in human history of a story that we covered was the 1800s. And I'm just like, there has been a lot of stories that have come out since then.
Right.
And I'm just like,
Or and before then. Like,
and before,
I mean,
well, here's the thing. It was a big area we were covering. Like, we were covering, like, from the first epic ever written.
Okay.
So that's way before the birth of Christ.
Gotcha, yeah.
Then it's all the way to the 1800s. Because, like, but I'm just like, you need to have more class that covers, like, things that are being written today because you are neglecting the current art and you're neglecting creativity.
Right. Like, after this is done, I'll give you guys some good examples of books, but we gotta kind of wrap this up.
No, it's all right. You're good. But yeah, seriously though, guys, I had so much fun doing this episode. Like, I'm so excited I finally got you guys back on. I have missed having epic talks with you guys on the podcast so much.
And should we make the announcement of the of what we discussed before this?
Oh man, so literally like right before we started recording this, so we came up with this brilliant idea. Like Aiden's been giving me this idea this whole semester, and like now that I've been changing out some things, and I decide that I'm going to be starting a new show. I'm not going to give away the name yet, but I am starting a brand new podcast that it's not just going to be me hosting. We'll have a long line of people because...
And this one's also going to be primarily like how throughout the episodes, it's basically who can we get on. This podcast is going to be specifically for the three of us.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like of all the other people you've invited on, Will, Marshall, everyone else, this one is going to be just the three of us.
Yeah, so I'm so excited to get this one started, and you might want to keep the kids away from this.
Oh yes, like how we make the jokes that I'm constantly needing to censor myself. These two are doing it too. It's just easier for them.
Yeah. Like it is torture for Aiden on some recordings. Like,
and if
he'll
you're
be,
wondering,
like, biting his hand, like trying to find the urge not to say something bad.
And we often have to cut things out too.
Oh yeah,
yes.
I've had to edit stuff. There's been a few recordings where I've had to edit out a few things. Like,
in fact, this episode we're going to have to.
What'd you say, Preston?
In fact, this episode we're going to have to.
Yeah, but it's all right. But yeah, I had so much fun with this recording. I'm so excited to get that show started. We're planning on starting it this week, actually.
Yep.
And the name will be revealed during that session. But yeah, I'm so excited to get that idea going. So I hope you enjoyed this recording. I gotta say, thank you, Aiden and Preston, for coming back on.
It's always good to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. And until next time, this is DJ Apollo with
Aiden
And Preston.
here on the Tales of Music and Film.